Chapter 1: The Discovery. In the small village of Eldoria, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, lived a spirited teenage girl named Arya. Known for her curiosity and adventurous spirit, Arya often explored the outskirts of her village, uncovering hidden paths and forgotten places. Her parents, who were humble farmers, often worried about her safety, but they knew better than to try and curb her adventurous streak. One sunny afternoon, as Arya wandered deeper into the forest than she ever had before, she stumbled upon a cave partially hidden by overgrown vines and moss. The entrance was dark and foreboding, but Arya felt an inexplicable pull towards it. She hesitated for a moment before curiosity got the better of her, and she stepped inside. The cave was cool and damp, the air thick with the scent of earth and stone. Arya carefully navigated through the narrow passage, her footsteps echoing softly. As she ventured further, she noticed a faint, pulsating glow emanating from deeper within the cave. Intrigued, she followed the light until she reached a small chamber. In the center of the chamber lay a large, shimmering egg. Its surface was smooth and iridescent, reflecting hues of blue, green, and gold. Arya's breath caught in her throat as she realized what she had found: the last dragon egg, a relic from a time when dragons roamed the skies of Eldoria. Chapter 2: The Guardian's Warning. As Arya approached the egg, she heard a rustling sound behind her. She turned to see an old man with a long white beard and piercing blue eyes standing at the entrance of the chamber. He wore a robe adorned with ancient symbols and carried a staff that glowed faintly in the dim light. "Who are you?" Arya asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. "I am Eldrin, the guardian of the last dragon egg," the old man replied, his voice deep and resonant. "This egg has been hidden here for centuries, awaiting the one who is destined to protect it." Arya felt a surge of excitement and responsibility. "What must I do?" Eldrin studied her for a moment before speaking. "The egg must be protected until it hatches. The dragons were once the protectors of this land, and their return is crucial to the balance of our world. But beware, for there are those who seek to possess the dragon for their own dark purposes." Arya nodded, determined to fulfill her newfound duty. "I will protect the egg with my life." Eldrin smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "You have a brave heart, Arya. But this journey will be fraught with danger. You must seek out the ancient dragon guardians who can help you. They are hidden throughout the land, and only with their guidance can you succeed." Chapter 3: The Journey Begins. Arya carefully wrapped the egg in her cloak and set out on her journey, leaving the safety of her village behind. Her first destination was the Sacred Grove, a place of ancient magic where the first of the dragon guardians was said to reside. The path to the Sacred Grove was treacherous, winding through dense forests and across rocky terrain. Arya encountered many challenges along the way, from wild animals to unpredictable weather. But she pressed on, driven by her sense of duty and the hope of restoring the dragons to Eldoria. After several days of travel, Arya reached the Sacred Grove. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of bird song. In the center of the grove stood a towering oak tree, its branches stretching towards the sky. Beneath the tree sat a serene figure, an elderly woman with silver hair and eyes that sparkled with wisdom. "Welcome, Arya," the woman said, her voice like a gentle breeze. "I am Leora, the guardian of the sacred grove. Arya bowed respectfully. Eldrin sent me. I need your help to protect the last dragon egg. Leora nodded, her expression serious. I have been expecting you. The egg must be kept safe from those who would misuse its power. I will teach you the ways of the ancient magic that can shield the egg from harm. Chapter 4: The Trials of the Grove. Under Leora's guidance, Arya began her training in the sacred grove. She learned to harness the natural magic of the forest, using it to create protective barriers and communicate with the creatures of the land. Each day brought new challenges, and Arya's skills and confidence grew. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Leora shared the history of the dragons and their connection to Eldoria. The dragons were once the guardians of our world, maintaining the balance between nature and civilization. But greed and corruption led to their downfall. The last dragon egg is our only hope of restoring that balance. Arya listened intently, feeling the weight of her responsibility. I will do everything in my power to protect the egg and ensure it hatches safely. Leora placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I believe in you, Arya. But you must be prepared for the trials ahead. Dark forces are already aware of the egg's existence, and they will stop at nothing to claim it. The next morning, Arya set out from the sacred grove, armed with new knowledge and strengthened by Leora's teachings. Her journey would now take her to the Whispering Mountains, where the next dragon guardian awaited. Chapter 5: The Whispering Mountains. The Whispering Mountains were a formidable range, their peaks shrouded in mist and their slopes covered in treacherous cliffs. Arya's path was difficult, but she pressed on, driven by the urgency of her mission. She followed the ancient map Eldrin had given her, navigating the narrow trails and steep inclines. As she climbed higher, the air grew colder, and the wind howled through the mountain passes like a mournful song. Arya wrapped her cloak tightly around the egg, protecting it from the biting cold. She knew she was close to her destination. After several days of arduous travel, Arya reached a secluded cave high in the mountains. The entrance was guarded by 2 stone statues of dragons, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cave was vast and filled with the sound of echoing whispers. In the center of the chamber stood a tall, muscular man with fiery red hair and eyes that burned like embers. He was surrounded by ancient runes etched into the stone floor. "Welcome, Arya," the man said, his voice resonating through the cave. "I am Kale, the guardian of the Whispering Mountains." Arya bowed respectfully. "I seek your guidance, Kale. I must protect the last dragon egg and ensure it hatches safely." Kale nodded, his expression stern. "The path you have chosen is not an easy one. The mountains are filled with dangers, and dark forces will stop at nothing to claim the egg. But I will teach you the ways of the fire magic, so you may defend yourself and the egg. Chapter 6: The Fires of the Mountains. Under Kale's tutelage, Arya began her training in the art of fire magic. She learned to harness the power of the flames, using it to create barriers, conjure fireballs, and even communicate with the spirits of the mountains. The training was intense and demanding, but Arya's determination never wavered. One evening, as they sat by a roaring fire, Kale shared the history of the Dragon Guardians and their connection to the ancient magic. The guardians were chosen to protect the dragons and their legacy. Each of us holds a piece of the ancient magic, and together, we can restore the balance to Eldoria. Arya listened intently, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. I will do everything in my power to protect the egg and ensure it hatches safely. Kale placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I believe in you, Arya. But you must be prepared for the trials ahead. Dark forces are already aware of the egg's existence, and they will stop at nothing to claim it. The next morning, Arya set out from the Whispering Mountains, armed with new knowledge and strengthened by Kale's teachings. Her journey would now take her to the Shadowlands, where the final Dragon Guardian awaited. Chapter 7: The Shadowlands. The Shadowlands were a dark and foreboding place, filled with twisted trees and thick fog. The air was heavy with an oppressive sense of dread, and Arya felt a constant chill as she made her way through the desolate landscape. She knew that the final Dragon Guardian, Alara, resided in this eerie place, and she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. As she ventured deeper into the Shadowlands, Arya encountered strange and unsettling creatures. Shadows seemed to move of their own accord, and ghostly whispers filled the air. Despite the fear that gnawed at her, Arya pressed on, determined to fulfill her mission. After several days of travel, Arya reached a clearing surrounded by ancient, gnarled trees. In the center of the clearing stood a tall, graceful woman with long, flowing hair and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. She wore a cloak of shadows that seemed to shift and change with the light. "Welcome, Arya," the woman said, her voice like a haunting melody. "I am Alara, the guardian of the Shadowlands." Arya bowed respectfully. "I seek your guidance, Alara. I must protect the last dragon egg and ensure it hatches safely." Alara nodded, her expression serious. "The path you have chosen is fraught with danger, but I will teach you the ways of shadow magic. With it, you can move unseen, create illusions, and protect the egg from those who seek to harm it." Chapter 8: The Trials of Shadows. Under Alara's guidance, Arya began her training in the art of shadow magic. She learned to manipulate the darkness, using it to create protective barriers, conjure illusions, and move silently through the shadows. The training was challenging and often unsettling, but Arya's determination never wavered. One evening, as they sat in the eerie light of the Shadowlands, Alara shared the history of the Dragon Guardians and their connection to the ancient magic. The Guardians were chosen to protect the dragons and their legacy. Each of us holds a piece of the ancient magic, and together, we can restore the balance to Eldoria. Arya listened intently, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. I will do everything in my power to protect the egg and ensure it hatches safely. Alara placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I believe in you, Arya. But you must be prepared for the trials ahead. Dark forces are already aware of the egg's existence, and they will stop at nothing to claim it. The next morning, Arya set out from the Shadowlands, armed with new knowledge and strengthened by Alara's teachings. She now possessed the combined knowledge of all the Dragon Guardians, and she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 9: The Final Battle. As Arya made her way back to Eldoria, she felt a growing sense of urgency. She knew that dark forces were closing in on the egg, and she had to protect it at all costs. She returned to the cave where she had first found the egg, determined to stand her ground. The cave was eerily silent as Arya entered, clutching the egg tightly. She felt a sense of foreboding as she sensed the presence of the dark forces approaching. She took a deep breath and prepared herself for the final battle. The air grew thick with an oppressive energy, and the shadows seemed to writhe and twist. From the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in black, their eyes burning with malevolence. "Give me the egg, girl," the figure hissed. "You cannot hope to protect it." Arya stood her ground, drawing upon the combined magic of the dragon guardians. "I will never let you have it. The dragons will return to Eldoria, and their legacy will be restored." The figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the cave. "You are but a child. You cannot stand against me." With a surge of determination, Arya summoned the magic of the guardians. Flames erupted from her hands, shadows twisted and danced, and the earth itself seemed to respond to her will. She faced the dark figure, her heart filled with the strength of her ancestors. The battle was fierce and intense, with magic clashing and the cave shaking with the force of their powers. Arya felt the weight of her responsibility, but she also felt the support of the guardians and the legacy of the dragons. She knew she could not fail. With one final, powerful burst of magic, Arya struck down the dark figure, banishing them from the cave. The oppressive energy lifted, and the cave returned to its serene state. Chapter 10: The Dragon's Awakening. As the dust settled, Arya felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had protected the egg and defeated the dark forces that sought to claim it. She approached the egg, feeling a warm, pulsating energy emanating from it. The egg began to glow, its surface shimmering with iridescent colors. Arya watched in awe as cracks appeared on its surface, and a small, delicate dragon emerged. The baby dragon looked up at her with bright, intelligent eyes, and Arya felt an immediate connection. The dragon let out a soft, melodic cry, and Arya smiled, tears of joy streaming down her face. She knew that this was the beginning of a new era for Eldoria. The dragons would return, and balance would be restored to the land. As the dragon nuzzled against her, Arya felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. She had fulfilled her destiny and protected the legacy of the dragons. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Epilogue: A New Era. With the return of the dragons, Eldoria flourished once more. The land was filled with magic and wonder, and the people lived in harmony with the majestic creatures. Arya became a revered figure, known as the guardian of the last dragon egg, and she continued to protect and nurture the dragons. The legacy of the dragon guardians lived on, and Arya passed down her knowledge and experiences to future generations. She knew that the bond between the people of Eldoria and the dragons would endure, bringing prosperity and peace to the land. As she looked out over the rolling hills and dense forests of Eldoria, Arya felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had fulfilled her destiny and ensured the survival of the dragons. She knew that as long as she remained true to her heart and her duty, the magic of the dragons would continue to thrive. And so, the story of Arya and the last dragon egg became a legend, a testament to the power of courage, determination, and the enduring bond between humans and dragons.